Today we want to talk about keys to creating financial stability. Okay? Keys to creating financial stability. Couple things I want to share before I give you these keys. The first thing is this. I wrote on the board behind me different profiles of different individuals, okay? Because a lot of times when I am talking about certain principles you can put to practice, when I'm talking about certain strategies you can implement, when I'm talking about certain keys that can be used to accomplish certain things, some people think it don't apply to them, but it applies to everybody. Whether you are an individual who works a W-2 job, that would be considered an employee. What I'm sharing today applies to you, okay? If you are a contractor, 1099 contractor, you're a network marketer, you're a real estate agent, you're an insurance agent, you're a broker, whatever it is that you do as a 1099, this applies to you. If you are a business owner, you've got an EIN number, you've got a Duns and Bradstreet, you got an LLC, a C Corp, S Corp, what I'm sharing applies to you. Even if you are a pastor of a church or you own a nonprofit, incorporation, or 501c3, what I'm sharing applies to you too. So it doesn't matter if you are one or all of these individuals that make up these profiles. What we share about finances, about business, and about investments applies to everybody. It applies to everybody. And guess what? No matter which one or several of these you are, every one of us wants to have financial stability. I think we can all agree on that. We all want financial stability. Some people want to be billionaires like me. Some people may be okay being multimillionaires. Some people don't even need to be multimillionaires. If they could just have a level of financial stability that they got money saved, they got a few investments, they have a solid retirement, they would be happy, fulfilled, and satisfied. Either way you slice it and dice it, we want to generalize it by saying everybody wants financial stability. Whether financial stability is $100,000 in a bank account or $1 billion of assets, we still want to focus in on financial stability. And every one of these individuals that I just represented here on this board would like to have it, and everyone needs it. Now, the reason why I talk about all of these different groups of people is because I have been all of these and still am most of these. Like, I used to be a W-2 employee, even though I haven't worked a W-2 job in about 25 years, almost 25 years, but I know what it is to be a W-2 employee, okay? I was a 1099 contractor, and actually, there are some things that I do today that are still considered 1099 contract work. I am a business owner. I own multiple businesses, divisions, and subsidiaries. I'm actually a pastor of a 501c3 incorporation, a church, a nonprofit. My wife and I, we have an entire church-controlled organization, okay? So I know how important it is for all of these individuals and all of the financial activities that represent these individuals. I know how important it is for there to be some level of financial stability. And here's what I've learned. Financial stability, in any area of these profiles, financial stability for W-2 employees, financial stability for 1099 contractors, financial stability for business owners, even financial stability for pastors, churches, and nonprofit organizations. Financial stability begins with people, ladies and gentlemen. It begins with people. Okay, it begins with people. Now, I want you to stay with me because I'm going to be sharing with you some keys to creating financial stability. Keys to creating financial stability. Your financial stability cannot ultimately and inevitably depend on people. I want you to understand it begins with people. But your financial stability at some point has to mature, it has to grow, and it has to become more dependent on assets than it does people. But it all begins with people. How do I know that? Well, in order for you to be an employee, a W-2 employee, guess what you need? You need people, because you need somebody who owns a business to give you a job. How do I know contracting requires people and depends on people? Because in order for you to do business as a network marketer, as a contractor, as a self-employed freelancer, anything you do is tied to people. Somebody's got to give you some work. Somebody's got to do business with you. As a owner of a business, you need clients, you need customers, you need people to sell products and services to. As a church and nonprofit, you need members, you need donors, you need sponsors, you need the community to support your endeavors. So the financial stability of any person or any business or organization, it all begins with people. Now, when you start developing relationships with people that begin this process of providing some level of financial activity, even though it's not financial stability, you have to have the end in mind. You've got to be thinking, I've got to do certain things while I'm engaging people so that at some point I can move away from totally depending on people and start depending more on assets. I hope y'all understanding what I'm saying. So this is the foundation. This is the foundation that you want to build these keys on for creating financial stability. Now, with that being said, let me give you these 3 keys and let me number them so you can screenshot them, write them down, do whatever you need to do. Okay, because again, the foundation for these 3 keys to creating financial stability is about me understanding that anything that I do in any area I do it in, whether I'm a W-2 employee, whether I'm a contractor, whether I'm a business owner, a church pastor, minister, nonprofit executive, freelancer, it doesn't matter. It all begins with people. So I've got to learn to connect with people. I've got to do these things, right? And then it matures and grows and develops into connecting with assets, because I don't want to live all my life totally dependent upon people. At some point, I want to depend more on assets than I do people. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Okay. So how do I do it? Well, here's where the keys to creating this financial stability, because I'm telling you, your financial stability cannot just be in people. Your financial stability has to be in assets. Of course, those assets are going to be tied to people. They're going to involve people, but they don't always have to be dependent upon people, because you can accumulate enough assets that even when people start failing you, the assets don't fail you. And there are people who will fail you, right? And still need the assets that you have that are not failing you. Think about that. For example, if you owned a gas station, I'm just giving you an example. If you owned a gas station in an area where most people in that area have to use your gas station to get gas, even if some of the people that use that gas station for gas don't like you personally, hate your guts, don't want to support you personally, they're still going to support you indirectly because they still got to use that gas station you own. You understand what I'm saying? So even when you can't depend on the person, you still depend on the asset that the actual person still needs to use. And this is what creates your financial stability. Most people try to build their financial stability around depending totally on people, okay? And sometimes they're depending totally on systems or structures that people are telling them to depend on, and they should not depend on people or the systems and structures people are telling them to depend on as much as they need to depend on assets. Because some of the things people are telling you to depend on for your financial stability, they are not assets. They are liabilities. They are liabilities. So let's get to these 3 keys to creating financial stability. What do you need to do starting today if you want to create financial stability? Well, I told you the foundation is understanding people, understanding assets, and understanding that all assets ain't people and all people ain't assets. It begins with people because people typically have the assets or the opportunities to get to the assets. But once you start developing yourself in these keys that I'm gonna talk about, you got to start leaning more towards the assets. You cannot be leaning on and depending on people when people are going to lead you astray. People are going to get you tied up into liabilities that they call assets. It's something that always ends bad when you put your total dependence on people and you never graduate and mature to assets. So key number 1 to creating financial stability is you must, and I'm using some strong words today, you gotta find, please take notes today, because you must do this. You gotta do this. You gotta find and align yourself with the right people in the right places who are doing the right things that can help facilitate your current and or future financial stability. Now let's break that down. What do you mean by finding and aligning? Well, finding the right people and aligning myself with people, it may mean that I don't need to align myself with everybody. This is one of the biggest liabilities and disadvantages of social media, okay? Because social media affords you the freedom to find any type of person. And it affords you the freedom to align yourself with any type of person. So you could go to YouTube, which you may be on there watching this. You could go to Google and you could type in how to become a millionaire. You can type in how to make 6 figures a year. You can type in how to make $25 an hour, how to save money. You could type in anything regarding financial stability, and guess what happens? You're going to have 1,000 people that are going to show up, including Ramone Preston, giving you this perspective and this opinion and this discourse about what they think you should do in order to make $25 an hour, $100,000 a year, 6 figures, make $1 million, become a millionaire, whatever the case is. But it is your responsibility to align yourself with the person or maybe the few people who share the values and the views that you know you want to live by or that you're already living by. Like there are some people that I listen to, and once they start talking a certain way, I automatically know it really doesn't even matter what else they say after that. I'm already not in alignment with you because of the type of person you are, because of certain beliefs you have. It ain't gonna work for me. I don't care how smooth you is, how charismatic you is. It don't matter how you work words and finesse conversations. I don't care about that. I don't care how knowledgeable, intelligent, experienced you are, how many followers you got. It just ain't gonna work because there's no alignment for me. So you have to find and align yourself with people, and you need to find and align yourself with places. Some of you that are watching me, and you've probably heard this a lot of times, I'm just gonna be another person to tell you this. You probably need to move from where you are right now. You're probably in your familiar surroundings. Most people, and studies show this, most people never leave where they were born at. Like there are some studies that show over 80% of people never move from where they were born and raised. Think about that. 8 out of 10 people stay their whole lives where they were born. And some of the 20% of the people that don't, they end up coming back after college or after traveling the world or going to certain places. But 8 out of 10 people typically stay where they were born and raised. They never leave their hometown, or maybe they move 20 miles north or 45 minutes south or maybe an hour east. But for the most part, they stay in the vicinity where they were born. And guess what? They never find and align themselves with places that challenge them to grow, that challenge them to become a different and better version for whatever the reason is. I was one of those people, okay? I'm not born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not from here. But I knew I had to leave, like Abraham, where I was born and raised in order for me to live out these dreams that I had. For me, I knew it was going to take packing up my bags and moving from South Florida, hundreds of miles away, to Atlanta, Georgia, to a land, to a place with people I did not know. I only knew maybe a handful of people at the time. My wife, her family, that's it. Maybe 1 or 2 other people I met, you know, my spiritual parents. Other than that, I didn't know nobody. But guess what? I did not care. I had nothing to lose. I needed to find and align myself with different people in different places doing different things. And again, we're talking about financial stability. We're talking about financial stability. If you don't do this, most likely you're never gonna gauge where you are against the potential for where you can be. Like I know some people, we used to use the terminology, some people are hood rich, okay? They hood rich. And what that means is you can have somebody in the hood that might have about 100 grand, not even 100 grand. They might have about 50 grand. They got them a little 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. They got 2 cars that's paid off, might have a motorcycle and a jet ski or whatever the situation is, right? I'm just randomly naming stuff. And everybody looking at them like they the next best thing since sliced bread because they hood rich. But if you take that same person and you put them in another ecosystem around different people in different places doing different things, that person who is hood rich will look like a scrub somewhere else. Totally. They'll look like a scrub somewhere else. Sometimes when my wife and I are doing real estate deals, whether we're buying and selling, fixing and flipping, whatever we're doing with real estate, sometimes me and my wife will be doing real estate deals, like literally owning real estate, selling real estate, owning real estate, selling it, wholesaling it, trading it, assigning it, just moving all this real estate, millions and millions of dollars of real estate. We be moving around, right? And sometimes I think to myself, I grew up in a house that probably wasn't even 1,000 square feet. And here I can live in just about any house I want to live in for the most part in Atlanta, because I could just blindfold myself and throw a rock and hit a 5-bedroom, 6,000 square foot house in Atlanta that I can buy or rent and live in and won't even miss a beat, where I would have never imagined that where I was raised. I would have never imagined living in a home with an elevator and driving luxury cars. And even though life is not about those things necessarily, but those are the things that come with the quality of life that you are afforded to live when you have financial stability. It's simple as that. And the people who always throwing shade saying, well, it ain't all about that. It's more to life than driving a nice car and living in a big old house and dressing nice and traveling and blah, blah, blah. These are the people who gave up on finding and aligning the right people. They gave up on finding and aligning with the right places and the right things. That's it. They just gave up on it. And so now they want to discourage anybody else who has a dream outside of their little box that they live in. I'm keeping it a buck with you today, okay? So you want to find and align. That's the first key. The second key to creating financial stability is you want to maximize. I want you to get this, maximize and make the most out of your time, out of your talents, out of your treasures. Let me make it easy for you to understand because I got to go in a few minutes. Stop wasting all your doggone time. Stop wasting all your time. Somebody made a statement to me a couple weeks ago. Somebody made a statement to me a couple weeks ago about social media. And I told them, I'm not on social media. And they was like, what you mean you're not on social media? I'm like, well, first of all, my son is my social media manager. So 95+% of the time, if you type in and talking to somebody on social media that you think is me, literally, you're talking to my son. It's like, you're not talking to me. Okay? And it's fine because everybody else who's busy, who's successful, who's producing, they're doing the same thing. So I was explaining to them that I'm not wasting my time on social media platforms as a consumer. The time that it looks like I'm spending on social media, like right now, I'm on social media, but not as a consumer. I'm on as a producer. And hopefully, if you're watching this to take notes to go produce, then you're not wasting time. But if you just scrolling and you laughing and kikiing and you in the know on everything that's going on, you are a consumer like almost 8 billion people on the planet. And that's why you can never have financial stability. You can never move into the 1%. You can never live the quality of life that you want to live because you're not maximizing and making the most of your time. Okay? Most of the time, when I get in my car, I already have some audible book that's playing. I have some course or training that I'm listening to because I want to maximize and make the most of my time, and I want to make the most and maximize my talents. Whatever the things are that I'm good at, I want to use them. I do not want to waste time. My team always tells me, you don't think about nothing other than what you're thinking about. You doggone right. I don't have time to think about the stuff y'all need to be thinking about and other people need to be thinking about, especially if other people getting paid to think about those things. I don't want to think about that. I want to think about what's next. I want to think about the next level. I want to think about growing and expanding. That's what I want my time and my talent to be invested in. And you need to maximize and make the most of your treasures. These are resources that you have. You have relationships with people that can help you. You have opportunities to do things. But again, where are you? Where are you? You might be in a place where ain't no opportunities. You might be around people who can't see past their next footstep. That means you got to change number one so that you could change number two. And then number three, you must delay gratification and you must do the real work. That's it. These are the three keys to creating financial stability. Number three, delay gratification. Do you know what delayed gratification means? Delayed gratification means even though I can buy this thing today, even though I can do this thing today, I refuse to buy it. I refuse to do it because I know it is not an asset. I know it is not going to bring more money to me. It's going to take money from me. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Most people can't delay gratification, and I used to be most people. Most people can't delay gratification, and I used to be most people, so I know most people can't do it. I still have my moments where I do stupid stuff, and I think to myself, why did you buy that? That was stupid, but I bought it. But at least I didn't do it when I didn't have nothing. You understand what I'm saying? You know, I'm at a point in my life where I'm not where I want to be, but I ain't where I used to be. But when I do certain things, I still think it's stupid. But when I didn't have anything, when I was just trying to find a level of financial stability, I'm gonna wear the same pants, the same shoes, same clothes. I'm gonna drive the same car. I'm gonna live in the same apartment. I'm not changing nothing until I have financial stability. Having financial stability, having a peace of mind is more important than anything. This is why what I was saying earlier, and I talk to churches and pastors about this all the time. Like, I have churches and pastors that I do have relationships with. And if it's a pastor that listens to me and a church that's open to what I share with them, one of the first things I tell them is, put your church in a position to be financially stable before you do all this other stuff to please people. Even pastors, sometimes they jump into church buildings and doing all this other stuff that they shouldn't be doing when they ain't even got financial stability. Save and store enough money to be stable so that when you start making moves, you're not so dependent upon people and not assets that you start manipulating your way to get through. That's what happens to a lot of people because they find themselves under pressure. Business owners do the same. Independent contractors do the same. Employees do the same. People on fixed incomes do the same. I've seen it. But I also know what the reverse looks like when you're willing to, let's go back, when you're willing to find and align yourself with the right people, places, and things who can help facilitate your financial stability, maximize and make the most of your time, your talents, and your treasures. And number 3, delay gratification. You can wait 3 years to buy that. You don't need that right now. You don't need to move into that bigger place right now. You can wait. You can hold off. And guess what? What I like to tell people is this when it comes to delayed gratification. If you can't take that same money, let's say, for example, if you're paying a certain dollar amount in rent and you just swear for God, you need to move up 2 more bedrooms or 3 more bedrooms, or you just need a little more square footage for your office, right? Okay, here's how you can test that. Whatever the difference is between what you pay now and what you know you will pay, see if you can go 3 to 6 months putting that difference up in a bank account without touching it. That's called delayed gratification. Me and my wife did that. Before me and my wife moved into our first house, for a whole year, what we did was, this was, oh my God, almost 20 years ago. What we did was, we were on a month-to-month lease in our apartment at the time. We was living in an apartment. We went to a month-to-month lease. The rent went up maybe like $100, $100-something, just being on a month-to-month lease. But what we did was we said, okay, how much would a mortgage be when we buy a house? How much would we be paying if we got a house? And we looked at that dollar amount between what we paid the apartment and what we would have to pay for a house, and we put that aside every month. It was probably a little more than a year. But if we would have been going back into that account, taking that money out, it would have proved to us that we wasn't ready for a house for that amount. It would have just proved to us that we were unwilling to delay gratification. What I'm sharing with you is what's going to help you become financially stable and have a financial peace of mind. And you also want to do the real work. What do you mean do the real work? What I mean is You need to work on yourself. Personal, this is personal, professional, financial. Work on yourself. Learn more. Become a better version of yourself personally, professionally, financially. If you still talking the same, thinking the same, doing the same things with the same information that you did 10 years ago, if you're doing what you did a month ago, you're not growing. You're not doing the real work. The real work is personal development, self-development, education, knowledge, training, building a muscle.